Hello and welcome in this part concerning the tan lines management in wet and tan skins for Genesis 8. Once the tan has been created, after the conversion using this applier and the eventual tan preset, you can apply tan lines. So you will find many patterns of tan lines. This only indicates where the tan lines are located and not the color of the tan lines. This is the color of the tan line is created differently. So these are the patterns, for instance, for the woman. Okay, so you have the gray icon patterns and the blue icon patterns. You can find the same things for the male. Okay, but here we are working on women. Let's have a look at how a tan line is built. So I select, for instance, my torso, and here I write line. And I have access to all the tan lines properties. The black maps that you see here at each strength of correction, okay, are define where the tan lines are located. So you can get these black maps by using the reset all tan lines, which will say that there are tan lines nowhere. Okay, this is the absolute reset. Now you can, for instance, choose this bikini, okay, and you see here in the back straps tan lines appear. All right, I'm going to change. Okay, you see the straps tan lines, and you see here that the tan lines hue correction strength, the tan lines lightness correction strength, and the tan line darker correction strength are all mapped with this. And it means that the corrections will apply only where the map is white. It will apply only where the tan line is. So you have to define all these corrections. You have access to all these corrections to change the color, the specificities of the tan line. This is how this is built. Now the question may be, why is there gray icons presets and blue icon presets? The gray icon presets are direct load of these maps. It means that if you load it, it replaces the previous tan line pattern. The blue ones are layered, okay, and they are layered over the previous pattern with a 70% strength. For instance, I can layer this. Yes, I can layer this piece suit, okay, and you have the addition of the one piece suit with the previous tan lines. All right, and you can also split the layered versions are also splitted between top and bottom, okay, for bikinis, for all bikinis parts. Furthermore, if you work with anatomy parts, you have specific presets to be applied on genitalia, which correspond to the presets for the figure. All right, so here I'm going to reset all the tan lines map, and as you see, everything, the layer disappears, the original map disappears, everything comes back to black. So this is the choice of the pattern. I'm going to keep this pattern, okay, to show how to change the color of the tan line. You can work on three aspects of the tan lines: the saturation, or rather the desaturation, okay, how much saturation you remove, the hue, and the lightness. So either you lighten or you darken. In practice, you almost never darken, all right? So for this, you have presets included. So these are various presets. And you see, it doesn't change the pattern because the pattern is defined by the maps that you load with all this, all right, or all this, but it changed only the color of the untanned skins, and it always respects the initial texture maps for the figure. All right, okay, for instance, this is very strong. So this one, HSV, are full color presets for the tan lines, and you can have iterative corrections. So this one changes the hue correction, all right, and this one so either you decrease it or you increase it. This one will decrease the lightness correction, okay, or you can increase it. All right, so I'm going to decrease it just a bit. I'm going, for instance, to add a bit of hue correction, okay, and this changes, the last one, increases or decreases the saturation correction. So here the hue dominates everything. So the saturation changed when I decrease it. It does not change a lot. Here I desaturate the skin, but since I have a hue correction, it's not as visible. Yeah, and when the max or min is reached, you have a message saying that you can go further. Okay, I'm just gonna keep this iteration to max and set the hue correction strength and lightness correction strength to 0. This is where you see the best, that the skin here is pretty gray because in comparison with the rest, because we removed the maximum that we could of saturation of the initial maps of this color. All right, this is the first way. I'm going to start with something else. Well, okay, this is the first way to change the color of the tan lines. You have a second way which is much more efficient because you can access all the colors and so on, and which is to use the global interface or directly the settings here, but I think it's more clear in the global interface. So you have to go in the Adjust Tan Lines tab. First, I'm gonna remove the wet look. All right, this is I prefer. This is not required for tan lines, but it's just that it's annoying me from the start. Okay, so you have the Adjust Tan Lines tab, where you can find the tan lines desaturation here, and this corresponds to the property tan lines here, and which will help you to desaturate, okay, desaturate the tan line. But there is limitation, since as soon as you use the layer hue and the layer lightness, it adds a hue and a lightness, so you cannot be desaturated as much as you want as soon as this is not null. Okay, and this is the maximum desaturation that you can reach, but maybe you don't want to be that much desaturated. All right, and here, if you set everything to 0, of course you see no tan line. It's because no modification applies where there is the tan line pattern. Okay, let's go on with tan lines desaturation. Here you are going to have the hue correction of the untanned skins. So you have various modes of hue correction. You can use the color layer hue, blend, add, screen average. Here you have much more possibilities, but these are the most useful. All right, so you take the original image maps and it is multiplied by this color. So here the color is white and it is purely the original image maps. Then you overlay, you put it as a layer above the skin that you have here. All right, and you define how you blend it. So here, for instance, I take a color layer hue, and I'm going to set up something, I don't know, slightly beige. I don't know how the English word is said. And I increase the hue correction. Okay, And there is not a lot of modifications because this is almost the color of the original skin. But if I use the blend mode, let's go boom. That way I was sure of it. There is a strong modification in the blend mode. Why? Because you take a skin which has been darkened a lot, saturated a lot, and suddenly you blend it with the original image map, which is pretty clear. So if you choose the blend mode, you have to use very, very low values of hue and color correction strength, all right? Here is 0.2, and you see this is already a pretty strong tan line. And if you change the color here, it's gonna change, all right, the color. Remember that this is always multiplied by the base color map, all right, so that we can keep the skin detail. If you remove the original image maps, you can remove them here, all right, but you will lose the skin detail. So let's take something a little bit of this color, all right, a very low orange desaturated, and we can decrease, for instance, the tan line hue color. So this tan line here is as a cool color, I think, but we can also change the lightness of it. Okay, so here, I don't know why I'm red. I can change the lightness of it. So here, I use the lighten. I can use the brightness. Here I make very, very strong changes so that we can see a blend. We find the blend that we have here. Okay, so the map is blend and blend and blend again. We can use the color layer add. It's interesting, but as usually, you have to use very low strength because you will add something very clear and something very dark. So if you don't want a huge contrast, okay, as you saw, you must use a pretty low, pretty small variation strength. All right, and of course we can change. This is a layer add, so we can change also a bit the color of it, all right, so that it is a bit colder. I don't know if it will be enough, maybe a blue like this. So here I use two cold color with the blend, the add, to have a little bit colder, to have a colder tan line. I can still go colder. I have to imagine what the original map is and how I can reach the coldest tone. So here now I become a bit too reddish, but you know, you can, in general you keep this white, but you can use very low saturated values. So here I'm a bit more reddish than previously. This way you can change the tan lines properties, the tan lines colors. If you want something more yellow, you have to go for something more yellow. If you want something more red, you have to go for something more red. Okay, this is, if you want something cold, you have to go to something cold. So this one is probably too reddish, for yeah, maybe two, and you adjust the strength of this correction. You have to imagine the way you would do it in Photoshop with a map multiplied by the color and a mask, and you change the blend also, the blend type too. So this was the way to change the darkness. You almost never use it. I never used it. I have it just in case, but the case never happened. Just to say that I think that once the pattern has been chosen, this is the most efficient way to change the color and the lightness of the underlying skin, the skin which is under the tan line. And of course, if you change the tan line pattern, the color that you choose here is kept. The pattern and the colors are completely independent from each other. Well, that's all for this presentation. If you have questions, feel free to ask them on the forum or PM me if you want. Thank you for your attention, and bye-bye.